All right, let's get right into it. We're going to trace the entire life of a construction project, from that very first spark of an idea all the way to a finished, real-world building. You're walking down the street, you see a brand new building, maybe a skyscraper or just a cool new coffee shop, and you think, where did that come from? How did this get here? It almost feels like it just popped up overnight, right? But the truth is, it's anything but magic.
Yeah, there's a really precise 6-stage journey behind every single one of them. It's a whole process that takes a simple concept and turns it into a finished building. So let's walk through it together.
Okay, so stage 1, design. You might think a project starts with a shovel in the dirt, right? Nope, it starts way before that, with an idea. This is where that idea gets hammered out and turned into an actual usable blueprint.
And this whole design thing isn't just one big step. It's a flow. First, you've got to figure out exactly what the owner needs. Then, you start sketching out some concepts. After that, you get into the nitty-gritty, detailing the design with all the specifics. And the final piece of this stage, producing the official contract documents. These are the papers that builders will actually use to figure out the cost and, well, build the thing.
And let me tell you, getting this stage right is everything. A solid design isn't just about making it look pretty, it's about making sure it's safe, that it meets all the building codes, and this is huge. It allows everyone to price it out accurately. This is what stops those super costly mistakes and delays later on.
All right, so the blueprint is done. Now we're moving on to what I like to call the foundation phase. And I don't mean a concrete foundation. This is all the critical behind-the-scenes work that has to happen before a single shovel hits the ground. We're talking about assembling the team, really kicking the tires on the plan, and getting all the resources lined up. Look, a project is nothing without its people, right? And there are 4 key players that make up the leadership core. You've got the project manager, the PM, who's kind of like the director of the whole movie. Then there's the superintendent. That's the person on the ground at the job site every single day. The contract administrator is making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, keeping everything compliant. And the field engineer? They're the technical whiz coordinating all the complex details. Every single one is absolutely essential.
Okay, before you even think about building, you have to do your homework. It's called due diligence, and honestly, it's like the project's insurance policy. This is where the team investigates the site, does soil checks. Basically, they're playing detective, trying to uncover any hidden risks. Think unstable ground, or maybe some old pipes buried underground. Finding this stuff now prevents massive headaches and, budget-destroying surprises later.
All right, here's a term you'll hear thrown around a lot: value engineering. And it's not just a fancy way of saying cut costs. It's way smarter than that. It's a team effort where everyone gets together, looks at the plan, and asks, hey, is there a better way to do this? A more cost-effective way? A more practical way that doesn't sacrifice quality? It's all about squeezing the absolute most value out of every single dollar. So you've got a plan, you've got a team, but you still need 2 things: more people and a whole lot of stuff. That's where procurement comes in. It's basically how you get everything you need, and it happens in 2 main ways. You've got subcontracts. That's when you hire specialized companies for things like plumbing or electrical work. Then you have purchase orders, or POs. That's just for ordering the actual materials: the steel, the concrete, the wire, all of it. Okay, the plans are locked, the team is ready, the materials are showing up. Now for the fun part. We're heading into stage 3, construction. This is it. This is where the plan smacks right into reality. But before we get into the nuts and bolts, I want you to remember this quote, because it really gets to the heart of what makes a construction site work. You've got all these different crews, all these different specialists, all working together in this high-pressure environment. Success really boils down to trust and communication. Seriously, the relationships are just as important as the concrete foundation itself.
Which kind of brings us to the 2 sides of the construction coin. On one side, you have the order. That's the perfect world plan, the staging layouts, the safety protocols, all designed to make things run smoothly. But then you flip the coin and you've got the reality. And that's the day-to-day chaos where you need real leadership and constant problem solving to actually turn that pristine plan into a real building.
So what's the very first thing that happens when the crew shows up on site? It's called mobilization. And before any real building starts, they have to set up all the infrastructure. We're talking site offices, running water, electricity, safety fences, all the logistics. I love this analogy. It's exactly like setting up a military base camp before the big mission starts.
Okay, so the main structure is up. The building looks like a building. We're done, right? Not even close. The job is far from over. Now we're in the final big stage. Post-construction. This part is all about nailing the details and making sure the handover to the owner is perfectly smooth.
And finishing strong means being super meticulous. There's this huge project closeout checklist. I mean, it covers everything. Fixing every last little issue, getting all the official paperwork and permits, testing every single system, the heating, the AC, the elevators, you name it. Then you've got to train the new owner how to use their building, and finally, hand over a mountain of final documents.
Now I want to clear something up, because these two things are super important for protecting the owner, but people mix them up all the time. First, you have the punch list. This is just a list of tiny fixes, a scuff on the paint, a door that sticks, that have to be done before the contractor gets their final check. The warranty period is different. That's a guarantee on the work that starts after the job is done, and it usually lasts for a year. And once it's all said and done, there is one last, absolutely vital step that, honestly, a lot of teams skip, and that's the project evaluation. It's basically a debrief where the team gets together and talks about what worked and what didn't. This is so critical because it's how you learn and make the next project even better. So, we've gone through all these stages, from a napkin sketch to a real standing building. So how do you actually know if it was a success? Well, it turns out it boils down to a really simple but powerful little equation.
And here it is. This is the whole ballgame. A successful project is a win-win. The owner has to be happy with their new building, and the contractor has to make a profit. If you're missing either one of those, you can't really call it a true success.
So, how do you get to that win-win? It brings us right back to the two pillars we've been talking about this whole time. It starts with a really strong, detailed design, and then it's all about executing that design with skilled, on-the-ball construction management. If one of those pillars is shaky, the whole project is at risk of falling down.
And that's it. That is the life of a project, from start to finish. So after seeing the whole thing, from the really visible stuff like pouring concrete to all that invisible work of planning and paperwork, I'll leave you with this question. Which one of those invisible stages do you think is the most critical to getting it right?